going on, everybody? Welcome back. We're up here at my buddy Chandler's shop. This is Kennedy Detail in his freshly renovated shop. Me, a couple friends, and Kennedy especially worked really hard the last couple weeks to redo this entire building to accommodate his new detail studio. And the shop's really full right now. We have the C7 Grand Sport. We have a brand new C8 that has less than 200 miles on it. Check that thing out. We have the BMW M6. We have the Porsche Taycan Turbo. We have an LS swapped Austin Healey. We have my Lotus because we have no good place to keep my Lotus. We have the R8 that I did a rig shoot on several videos ago. It's one of the first supercars I actually got to put my rig on. And today's gonna be a really good day because we have the key to my buddy George's Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera for the entire day. We're gonna take it out, play with it a little bit, and get you guys some sound clips. Really excited to be in the Lamborghini today. First, we got to go back inside and move the Lotus, so tomorrow's Cars and Coffee is going to be really huge. Chandler is going to have tons and tons of cars up here, so we're actually going to bring this one back later and wash it and clean up after we've had just a little bit of time with it to ourselves. Need to get the Lotus out of here. Nobody here fits inside of the car, and so we're the only ones that get to move it most of the time. It's a lot easier with that removable steering wheel, but it's still, you know, finicky. Remember, you got to hit this horrible little key fob. Look at that thing. Can you believe that's what came with this car? So, big button to disarm the immobilizer. Turn the key over. Start button. Make sure it is in neutral. Oop, and we're dead. This thing basically lives in the trunk because that little tiny race battery does not do so well on its own, so let's try again. So I've been having a huge internal conflict lately. Do I keep the Lotus and wait a year or two and get a Gallardo, or do I sell the Lotus right now and just get a Gallardo? There's something special about the Lotus, so I don't think I'm gonna end up selling that one. Plus, it's not worth a significant amount of money anyway. It's not gonna be like a life-changing decision between getting both. One is just wait a little bit longer and have both, or have that instant gratification and get it right now. Okay, so I'll be honest with you guys, yesterday me and Brandon actually had the car for part of the day, and we filmed what I thought was, you know, pretty good little vlog about the car, and us just driving it around, talking about what we like and dislike. And unfortunately, I think the audio is just too bad. I really need to buy a standalone mic instead of trying so hard to do all of these videos on, not on a budget, but on just with less equipment. I have a decent background in videography, and I know better, and I keep trying to go the easier route and not have a whole bunch of microphones on 3 different cameras. But I think I'm finally gonna have to just gonna have to make the dive and start doing it the right way, because as you can probably hear right now, it's really loud on camera. Inside the car it's not so bad, but the camera seriously picks it up pretty bad. So right now we have to make one stop, and that's to get a little fuel. Okay, so like I've said 100 times before, I'm not a car reviewer. I just like to do little, you know, off-the-cuff impressions of while I'm driving the cars and while I'm around these type of cars, you know. So if you're looking for a review, you'd better go elsewhere. But the Superleggera, even 10 years later, looks awesome. Such a beautiful color. It still looks very modern, and personally I think it's aged better than the Murcielago. I think the headlights are a little better shaped. I think the overall aesthetics of the car just makes it a little bit cleaner than the Mercy. So this is the Superleggera. That means super light. They shaved about 150 pounds off of the base model Gallardo. And that was due to a lot of its carbon fiber. We have carbon fiber door panels. The seat backs are carbon fiber. We have all of this awesome carbon in the center console. And they also shaved weight with the wheels and some titanium lug studs. And so they shaved like 150 pounds off of the car. And this is a 5.2 liter V10. The E-gear is basically operating the manual transmission, I guess hydraulically. I'm not, honestly, look, like I said, if you're here for a car review, you need to leave. This isn't a car review. This is just my impressions of the car. It's very, very violent. The shifts hit really hard. It feels like the transmission is gonna come from the firewall and be my passenger every time that we shift really, really hard in the car. So I've made a decision. I'm not gonna start filming these videos until I've had some caffeine in the morning. I am really, really exhausted. We were up till about midnight last night shooting some really, really cool video of the car just driving at nighttime. We got some cool exhaust clips. We have hopefully some really good sounding exhaust clips. This car has I guess it's a Fabspeed exhaust on it, and the noise that it makes is just awesome. It really has to be heard in person, but I tried to capture some of that. So there is an automatic mode, and it will shift on its own if it's in that automatic mode, but the shifts are very, very delayed and a little laggy and just uncomfortable in general. And so I prefer to drive it in the manual mode. So right now we're in neutral. You want to press your brake down, hit your pedal up just once, and now you'll see that we're in first gear. We can pull out of this little parking lot. Hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. Like I said, I'm pretty irritated about how poor the audio turned out yesterday. So as you can hear, it will not shift for you. Have to actually shift every single gear. Now we're coming up on a red light, and in sport mode it will downshift for you, which isn't nearly as fun because you don't get to hear all the nice crackles and pops from the exhaust. And you're supposed to put it in neutral when you're sitting at a light to prevent any clutch wear, but it will actually do that for you if you sit at a stop for too long with your foot off of the brake. It'll go ahead and just throw the trans into neutral for you. One of the really cool things about the Gallardo is it's really actually a pretty light car. I kind of expected it to be really heavy and boaty, the same way that I expected the 458 to be like that, and I was wrong in both instances. The car only weighs, the Superleggera only weighs about as much as a Lotus Evora, which, as y'all know, the Lotus is supposed to be, you know, the king of lightweight performance. And here we have arguably a much better performing car, a better looking car, and especially if we're talking about a similarly powered car, which would be the Evora GT or the Evora 400, which is, you know, just above 3,000 pounds, but only has 400 horsepower. In this car, we have an extra 150, and it does not feel overpowered at all. I feel like it's a really great amount to be streetable, not so much power to where you don't ever get to use it, but plenty to where you can drive it, and if you want to drive it hard, that's not a problem. Some of the new supercars just suffer from having far too much power. They're hard to drive on the street. You can never drive them to your full potential. That's one I feel like you can drive all out as long as you're a little conservative with your driving style. So while we don't have that really cool Ferrari gear selector on the steering wheel, we do have some fun analog touch points. That's a row of switches here on the dash, and it pairs really well with the style of kind of this older screen and the way that the Havoc controls look. It pairs together really, really well. I feel like the size of the car is perfect. I'm very comfortable driving it around at this point. Like I said, I had it half the day yesterday. It's still morning today, but I've had about half a tank of gas, maybe a little bit more of that to the seat time in it. And it just feels like a perfect size. I'm very, very comfortable driving it around, even after a short amount of time. And it's really, really reaffirming my, my decision that I think I want one of these next. Hopefully, in addition to the Elise. I've done a lot of work to that car, and I really don't want to get rid of it. I think that I can probably have both. At least that's the goal, is to have both cars. And I think this would complement it really well. It's always something that I've wanted. This gen Lamborghini was, you know, was my poster car when I was in high school. You know, everybody, when you said Lamborghini, it was Gallardo. It's such an iconic car. Everybody had a poster of a Gallardo, and the price point is getting so good. If you're okay with like a rebuilt title base model that you can sink a little bit of work into and enjoy, you know, you're only looking at, gosh, 70, maybe 80,000. If you have a little bit more to spend, you can get something a little nicer, close to 100. If you want a Superleggera, you're still looking at, you know, some pretty high, you know, probably 130s or 160. But for what you're getting, it's still a pretty good price in my book. All right, so I'm successfully caffeinated, or at least it's working its way through my system. I'm feeling a little bit more awake than I was earlier. Right now, we're heading to a little park here in town where I shoot a lot of photos at. It's pretty secluded. There's not hardly any traffic, so it'll be a good opportunity for me to put the GoPro on the back of the car to get some sound clips of us moving and driving around. Even though this car is about 10 years old, the interior still feels very modern. Interiors are a big deal to me because that's where you spend all of your time. So that's why I spent so much time on the Lotus, updating it and making it a little more modern and just making it a little bit better, because it just feels really, really cheap and unfinished from the factory. And now we have it to a point to where I'm pretty happy with it. It's very comfortable and it looks very modern and nice, and the car has really come together very well. And my buddy George, the owner, has taken just incredible care of its car. It's almost as perfect as it could possibly be, and he still drives it quite a bit, which is really, really cool. He drives the crap out of this car, drives it really hard, enjoys it, and it's still in such great shape. The only area where you see any wear is, you know, the Alcantara. Any Alcantara steering wheel will get matted and worn out pretty quickly. That's one of the reasons I opted for leather on the Lotus. Here, we'll give it a little bit of a pull. I don't know if you could see that, but the whole car just shakes really hard on those hard upshifts. Here, we'll almost to where we're going, but you know, even on a very easy light pull like that, you know, there's a lot of shakes and a lot of movement. Yeah, the gearbox just feels so mechanical. When you pull the shift levers to change gears, it feels mechanical. It feels like you're shifting a gear, as opposed to like on the AMG. It feels more like you're just telling a computer what to do. This one has a very, very good manual sort of feel to it. Okay, so now we're at this kind of secluded park. There's a little 2-lane road. Nobody's ever on it. So it has a couple curves. It's not very long, but it'll be a good place for me to show y'all what I'm talking about with some of these upshifts. So even on a very light pull, you can hear the transmission and hear the car kind of lurch a little bit. It's extremely mechanical, and it feels great. It's a little bit scary how hard the transmission hits. It caught me off guard the first time I drove the car. I really thought that I was braking the car. to my favorite taco shop in the whole city. It's called Polipuertos. They have the best carnitas in the entire area. And that little park we were just at is really, really close to it. And even my office that's in the center of town is a solid like 15 or 20 minute drive to get over here. So I don't come over here as often as I would like to. All right, so here we are. Like I said, this is my favorite taco place in the entire city. It's super, super authentic, and they have just the best carnitas here. I try to come here at least once a week. Like I said, it's really far from anywhere else, like where my office or house or anything is, but it's worth the drive every single time. It's just some of the best Mexican food in the whole city. And just like that, half of the day is gone. I have no idea where half of the morning just went. Been having such a good time in the Gallardo. So now we're heading back to Kennedy Detail. We're gonna get this car all cleaned up and perfect so that tomorrow morning, George and his family will have a perfect car to take to Cars and Coffee. All right, so we're back over at Chandler's shop. Pretty much everything in the whole city has been here today. We still have to wash a couple cars. The Superleggera is still looking pretty good. The Taycan Turbo. I think we looked at this car this morning. This thing is just awesome. Yeah, it is. It is turbo. It says turbo. Look, you know what? Turbo. Turbo. It has the Dyson hair dryer, that $600 one. Built in. Yeah, the real nice one. Ah, and we have the McLaren with the sick body kit. We have the Aston, the Benz, the M6 over there. What else do we have in the shop? I think the Supra is still here. MK5. Yeah, oh, GT2 RS.